What's going on, people? Once again, it's Glendon Cameron with the American Hustler Podcast. Last week, I had some very unique experiences. I was talking to someone, and I realized that every hustler has his own kryptonite. Like Superman, you know what the kryptonite does to Superman? Well, you've got your own, and we're going to talk about it. To pay some bills, baby. The American Hustler Podcast is sponsored by Hustlers University, where your real education begins. If you want to learn how to make money in the new disruptive economy, sign up today. Hustlers University. Just click that green bar and you will be good to go. One of the biggest problems that was personal for me when I first started hustling was about 12, maybe 13. I used to hustle yards for, cutting grass during the summer to make extra coin. As good as I was, there was this nagging, lingering self-doubt. It even came after I got paid. I had the coins in my pocket. I had the dollars. There was always this am I good enough? Is this going to work out? Did I do a good job? See, as a hustler, your biggest kryptonite is self-doubt. I don't care who you are. At some point, this ugly beast will crawl up into your skull and start rattling its fist and can shake you to its core. Last week I was with someone and we were talking about storage auctions, hustling, because I'm very forthright with it. I was actually at an event and people were like, what do you do? I'm a hustler. I just sat there, right? And then it prompted the next question. So what does a hustler do? And then I went into all the things that I do. And I realized that I've owned that, because if someone hears me say the word hustler, from the video, hustling, I don't really give a fuck. This is what I do. It has liberated me from an average life. It's given me options that I've never had before. And I thought about it. It's like, And then there was another person that was at the event. It was like, a lot of people wouldn't have said that. It's like, I don't really care. I may never even see these people ever again. So I'm not going to predicate my happiness on what they may or may not say or think, when in the grand scheme of things, they really don't matter. And she's like, that's a good way to look at it. Because the thing is, when you say things like that, people kind of look. It's like, who is that guy? He doesn't. It's funny now. And I go back and I was like, how did I get here? That I didn't really care what anyone thought. Because at one point in my life, I did. Many of us really care too much what other people think, who do not have any impact in our lives whatsoever. It's a scary thing, but it's very true. So I sat back and I was like, this is going to make a great American Hustler podcast, because for me, self-doubt, not limited education, not a lack of a formal education, not a lack of money, not a lack of time, not a lack of just going through hell and back. The biggest detriment to your hustling career is self-doubt, for the following reason. There are no hustler trailblazers. There's people who've gone to medical school. There's attorneys. There's CPAs. There are many respectable paths that have already been defined and well laid out and proven. But when you say you're a hustler, images of you being like, my name is Lenny and I got plenty. The guy from Good Times with the big coat, and he opens up and there's watches and toasters and all this other stuff, because he's just hustling in the corner. He's hustling in the alley. That's what I call opportunistic hustling, not actually hustling with a strategy. And that's the image that comes up because there's really no serious cultural icon that goes ahead and claims hustling as a way that they made it. Even with many examples of people doing it. It's more prevalent in entertainment. Because, Sean Combs, Jay-Z, 50 Cent. But there's that whole connotation of that drug dealer lifestyle that's very seductive and it actually helps move music. But there's other kind of hustlers. I'm going to give you two hustlers, and this is my mental space. The Koch brothers, Koch. I'm not a fan, but I'm also not a hater. I've learned that just being haters, because there's some things I'm a hater of. I'm a hater of George Zimmerman all day long. Believe it, he's a murderer. But when I start looking at the Koch brothers, and I start looking at, Jack Welch, and I start looking, Jack Welch, these guys were hustlers. Well, the Koch brothers are hustlers. And I sit back, and instead of going, what they're doing is bad, it's really not good for... No. I don't look at that. I was like, how did they do that? How did they do that? What methodology? Because the story's deep. The father started Koch Industries. The two brothers bought everyone else out and grew the business tremendously. Because I will give credit where credit is due. These guys turned a lot of money into way more money. They did a better job of Donald Trump. And see, that's one of the things about studying business and studying individuals. You would think that Donald Trump is the man. No. What these guys did, they bought out one of the brothers, I think for like $600 million a long time ago, and then just exploded the business. They're worth way more money than Trump. And a lot of people don't know that. And they literally have money to burn. They could literally burn money and set it on fire and warm up the house for a few hundred years. So when you come back from that position of putting the moral label on and just sitting back, calm, cool, easy and breezy, and just saying, oh, that's how they did that, you become more powerful. So look at that with the Koch brothers. And I realized something. From the Koch brothers to anyone that's had mega success, above average success, they got past that self-doubt thing. Because I want you to think about it. These guys had a plan and they was like, yeah, we're going to push baby brother out and it'll be more for me and you, big brother. You have to get past the self-doubt. And this is where it really trips you up as a hustler. Understand, the way that you are is not your fault. Now, for me, Glendon Cameron, to say some stuff like that, I'm saying it for the following reasons. If you came up through the American school system, which was an industrial complex, don't believe me, do the research. The school curriculum and the school hours and the ringing of the bell, all that was designed to prepare you to work in a factory or to work in corporate America. This stuff didn't just happen by accident. This stuff was implemented for a reason to teach you to be a certain way. You get it in kindergarten. You get it in primary school or elementary school. You get it in middle school. You get it in high school. In college, depending on where you go, you may start to break away from it. That's one of the reasons that so many freshmen have a hell of a problem. Because it's like you go from this rigid, very structured environment to you need to manage yourself. And it really messes up a lot of people because it's a dichotomy. It's like, wait, well, we're doing this and I had my guidance counselor and now I'm out here by myself. My ass is hanging in the wind. And the results pop out. So understand, the way that you are, if you are an American, brought up through the American industrial school complex, it's been ingratiated in you. No, it hasn't been ingratiated. It's been indoctrinated in you to be that way. to always constantly seek approval of others. Remember in the first grade, you did something, you got a pat on the head, you may have even gotten a gold star by your name, and it made you feel good all day long. You told people, it's like, I got a gold star. You told your mom, your eyes were big, you were happy. You got rewarded for following the rules. Understand what I just said. You got rewarded for following the rules. You learned that little things from the right power source or the level of authority made you happy. That was a form of indoctrination and training. And you went through that system your whole life, and then you got a job, and it was the same thing. Many corporate companies were based on the military chain of command. So for you to have all this self-doubt is very easy because you got a report card. Until I became more self-aware, I thought it was the most ridiculous thing in the world for a school to not have report cards. Now I actually think that shit's brilliant. If you look at Montessori schools, it's a different curriculum because there's a level of education that teaches you to think and be a problem solver. There's a level of education that teaches you to be a follower. Many people in the American industrial school complex have been taught to be followers. That's why in the movies, we love the rebel. We love the dark figures, the edgy figures, that guy, James Dean, the Fonz, Shaft, Samuel Jackson in virtually any movie where he's like, motherfucker, shut up. I mean, we like that guy or girl, Thelma and Louise, because they are playing outside of the rules. And we often wish that we could play outside the rules. And many of us just simply do not know how to do it. We have no clue. We just don't know. And then it creates this angst. And with that angst, self-doubt. Bam. Self-doubt is lurking behind every corner, under the carpet. When you look in the rearview mirror, it's in the back seat going, what's up? Because it's always there that you're not good enough. Regardless of how hard you work, it's not good enough. What you say is not good enough. How hard you work out, you didn't lose enough. It's not good enough. Self-doubt is hustler kryptonite. Because what happens, you start moving, and then self-doubt taps you on the shoulder. Then, you do that thing, you brush your shoulders off, you keep moving. Then you get in your car, self-doubt's in the back seat going, what's up? You got that going on. You get out the car. Everywhere you go, there's self-doubt. And over a period of time, due to the indoctrination of the educational system, self-doubt starts to win. I have actually consulted with someone that told me this. This person had a side business. This person made about $5,000 a month on their job. The side business made $15,000. My first question was, why do you still have a job? And this person said, well, you never know how the business is going to go. I need the benefits. And I was just stunned into silence. And it's like, oh, the person thought we got disconnected. I said, do you understand that the time that you're devoting to that job, if you devote it to your business, you're already making 15, you may literally double your income. At $30,000 a month, buying some fucking benefits is not an onerous deal. $5,000? Yeah, $500, $200 for a policy, that could be a little onerous. But at $30,000 of personal of income, of revenue, and you're sitting here worried about some fucking benefits? I actually said that because I was pissed off. And it's part of that industrial complex that you will not do things that make sense. You will do things that you've been taught to do, whether it makes sense or not. And the person was like, whoa, that's a little heavy-handed. I was like, dude, you're making 150,000 plus on the side, and you're making 60 G's on the job. Do you understand that something's wrong with this? Do you understand that you can easily, easily replace your salary? And why are you still at that job? And it was self-doubt, and it was fear, and it was the wife, and it was the mother. Because even though this side hustle had paid off the house, this side hustle allowed her to drive around in a brand new Range Rover that was paid off. She was like, baby, you need to keep your job. Because she wasn't working. And it was just like, now another thing, understand, he had a full-time job and he had the side business. He had no free time. That's the reason he consulted me, because he saw the videos on YouTube and it's like, hey, I'm not really interested in storage auctions, but you do sound like a smart guy and I have this dilemma. And when we sat there and chopped it out, because I worked with him for roughly 4 months. And at the end of 4 months, he quit that fucking job. And I could say that because he was holding himself back. So we worked together, talked once a week. And essentially, I was a entrepreneur therapist for him, because the guy, smart guy, had great idea. And I said, okay, this is what you do. This is what you do. Okay, your house is paid off. Your cars are paid off. You have no credit card debt, and you got $80,000 in the bank. I think you can quit the job and be just okay. You'll be all right. So he goes ahead and turns in his notice. He was in sales. Often in sales, when you turn in your notice, they say goodbye. So that day he left, and he called me, and he said, I feel free. Then he went to his side business, and he started working there every day. I underestimated the guy. He didn't double his income. At the end of the 4 months, he had tripled his income. Here was someone who was smart, had money coming in, was afraid to move to the next level with all of this evidence. A house that's paid for, vehicles that's paid for, money in the bank, no credit card debt, because of self-doubt. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, I was just sitting there, you got to be kidding me. There are so many people who are in that situation, and they call it being safe, having something to fall back on. Well, if your ass doesn't intend to fall, why do you need something to fall back on? I can tell you, being an entrepreneur is not always easy. It's not fun sometimes. Sometimes stuff does fail, but when you learn the skills of self-reliancy and you learn to stab that self-doubt bitch in the eye and gank, and it's like, look, I'm just going to choke you the fuck out, self-doubt. I'm like, self-doubt is tapping out. It's like, I'm going back to my corner. I am going back to my dungeon, because dealing with you is a problem. See, you have to create a problem for self-doubt versus letting self-doubt create a problem for you. So, talked to this guy recently, because this is about 2 years ago. And I don't say certain things, but I think certain things, because I've been an entrepreneur and I know that sound of an unhappy person. You can be making a lot of money and be unhappy as fuck because your personal life is not together. And then we started talking, because like I said, I'm the therapist, right? I was the therapist. And he's like, hey, G, I know this is going to sound kind of crazy, but I think my marriage has been over for several years. And then I was like, you know what? This is going to sound real crazy. I think your wife is fucking someone else. And he said, me too. And the reason I said that, remember, he had a full-time job. He had this business. He was never home. They didn't have any kids. And he would say, yeah, she went on a trip. She was hanging with some friends. And when he told me that, I was like, she fucking someone else, because he ain't fucking her. And I was like, this is what you do, because you're in a very tricky situation. Because, I developed an affinity to him. This guy's a friend now. And I said, this is what you do. Because for number one, you got loot. So that means you have additional resources to gain additional resources. So what you do, because the state he was in, he would have got just financially raped. So I was like, and it was a state where, if someone's cheating and the laws were still on the books, I was like, you get you a private eye. You get you pictures. And he's like, he got all pissed off. And I was like, don't move out the house. I know you want to move out the house. That's abandonment. She doesn't have a job. You live in that house. You stop paying bills. It's no. Stick it out. You're an entrepreneur. You built this business. It's making fucking 90,000. 50, probably like 90,000 now. I think, yeah, he tripled it. 50,000 a month. You built that from nothing, dude. You're a very strong person. This is the reason I was with him, talking to him so much, because he would just like, hey, I need a consult. What he needed was to talk to someone, because he couldn't tell his best friend. He couldn't tell his parents, because from the outside, his life looked magnificent. Because she's a beautiful girl. He's a good-looking guy. So he did what I told him to do. He got a private detective, got the proof, and then I was like, okay, now you confront her with proof. You give her terms. Now, understand, you're going to have to give her something because you've been married a while. It sucks. She cheated on you. It would be nice to say she's getting out of this, but it's not going to happen because you've been married and she hasn't been working. She's going to get something. So you make her an offer. And she was fucking people in the house. And he said, I fucking hate this house. It's like, give her the house. So he crafted up an agreement, got an attorney. They met in the office. And, she kind of laughed, and then he slid the pictures of her cheating with these guys. Yes, it wasn't one guy, it was guys. And she took the deal. Her attorney advised her to take the deal because he wasn't cheating. He didn't move out the house. See, this is some of the things that you have to learn as a hustler, that even when your heart is breaking, you must be strong and you must continue to move forward. Because dude was messed up. He did the right things. He wasn't beating her when she was just a cute little girl that got bored and started fucking losers. So what I'm telling you is self-doubt will keep you in bad places. Because the thing is, after all this went down and we talked, he knew what was going on. He felt it. But self-doubt, and I think that's one of the reasons he kept the job, because he kept so busy because he didn't have to really deal with that stuff. And this is a very smart guy. His business idea, and I'm not telling you because you'll be able to Google this shit with a quickness, it's just fucking awesome. That's the kryptonite of any hustler. When I started this YouTube channel, if you're watching it on YouTube, this may be on iTunes. Like I said, I've got this wild, crazy plan. I was wrecked with self-doubt. It was me in the basement with my Sony Cybershot camera making videos like a scared little bitch. Like a runaway slave. I don't know if they gonna like this boss. Ooh, I don't know. There was a time that I was so wrecked with fear, I shut the camera off and started to say, fuck it. The little weak little bitch in me came out and like, I win. And I went outside and I went for a walk, because a lot of times when I got stuff on my mind, I'll just go walk it out. So I walked and I said, okay, this is absolutely ridiculous. It's just you. Who are you? When did you become this little weakling? So after I chided myself, I went back and I made the videos, and actually it did pretty well. That's self-doubt. Sometimes, I make no promises to you that you will do these things and they're going to work out miraculously. No, there will be times that you will stub your face, slam hard in the concrete. You will be embarrassed. You will make mistakes. People will point and laugh. They'll talk about you. And the thing is, as you weather those storms, you become stronger and stronger and stronger. That's why I can go to a mixed event with people I know and like, yeah, I'm a hustler. And say that shit with authority and pride. Because you can put me in any major metropolitan city in the United States of America and a few international cities with maybe $1,000 in my pocket. And within 6 months, I would be living the way that I'm living now, if not sooner. That is the power of hustling. That is the power of looking at the world the way that it is, not the way that you want it to be. Looking at situations realistically and having enough faith in yourself that if you do fail, and you will fail, I am not going to sit here and, put sugar in the spoon and like, oh, it's just a little. No, sometimes the failure is massive. Sometimes it will fuck with you for years. But from where I sit, it is better to live a life of courage and to fail than to live like a miserable, scared little bitch, always wondering, what if? What if I started that business? What if I took that trip? What if I joined the military? What if I tried to play on the football team? What if I asked Susie, Becky, Joe, Jim, Biff out? What the fuck if? What a horrible way to live. Going, what if? Sitting around 60, 70, 80, 90, the way things going, 120 years old, looking back over your life with tears streaming down your face because you did not take a chance, because you were afraid. Do you want that life? Do you want to live that bitter regret oatmeal, eating regret every morning, just, this shit's bitter. Yeah, regret's bitter. So, understand, as a hustler, that self-doubt, and it's aided by your social sanctions and family. I had to learn how to get around those people that when you tell them something that they are uncomfortable with, because it's like, hey, Mom, I want to be an entrepreneur. Really? You think you can do that? Do you know that simple statement that was said with no malice? It was no, my mom is not a mean person. It was no malice. That shit fucked me up for 6 months because of where it was coming from. This is Mom. She knows you better than anyone else. So I thought. I was just like, Sometimes parents assign labels to children that shouldn't be there based on their own fears and their own regrets. So I had to struggle with that for 6 months. So when you're hustling, being an entrepreneur, being a creator or producer, and you're dealing with all these interpersonal issues with fam, it drains your motivation tank. It drains your energy tank. That's one of the reasons I don't fight with people. It's emotionally exhausting. I don't fight with people. It's like, look, this is what I feel. This is how you feel. Okay, I'm out. I will walk away. I am that dude. And I've had a few ex-girlfriends that hated that shit. I was like, I'm not going to fight with you. I'm not going to sit here and scream and yell. I'm not doing it. I'm out. Because for the way that I am emotionally geared, that shit it used to fuck me up for weeks, months, weeks. Then occasionally, sometimes you have to have that conversation. You don't want to have hours. I'm at the point where I can get over that stuff in minutes to hours because I have a technique. I'll meditate, do my deep breathing, and deal with it and say, all right, this is what happened. This is how I felt. This is what's going on. And be honest and authentic with the issue. And then I'm like, sleep like a baby. I'm cool and comfortable again. And I just had to develop that process because, man, so many things would just like knock me off my tracks. And it was emotional garbage. So learn how to fight fair, learn how to stay on issues because, sometimes you have to have these super important conversations. But if you stay on the issue, even if they're not, because you're sitting there playing fair, you're not hitting below the belt. They just sitting you up the nuts. They got a baseball slapping your nuts together. They got the golf club going up your neck, going up your head, and you just have to take it and keep going and fighting fair. Not so much for them, but for your own mental sanity. Because as long as you stay on point, as long as you don't go all over into Egypt and back over to Switzerland and down to South Africa and over to Australia on the issue and stay on point, when it's done, you're going to feel better. Because one of the things that I've learned about people who are fighting with you that have a weak position, they start looking for triggers and leverage points because their original position is so weak, they know it, that they've got to come up with some crazy Kaiser Sorte shit to throw you off balance. And this is men and women, not just women, it's men and women. I've had these kind of issues with both. So understand, dealing with that self-doubt is a recipe for success because it will be there. And you have to be honest with it. If you got the fear, you got to deal with the fear. You can't say, well, it's really not a fear, Glenn, and it's just every now and then it kind of comes. No, that bitch is a fear. Don't downgrade it because I got another member of the Hustler Mindset project, which I can talk a little bit about, We did a consult. Dude made this big grand leap to leave the family tree. He's doing stuff that no one in the family's ever done before. They were a little concerned, and dude graduated from grad school with like $40,000 worth of student loan debt, right? 10 months ago. He's got that shit down to 26 because he made a move and he did some stuff that was outside the family norm. Do you understand? He's gotten rid of like 42% of his student loan debt in 10 months by hustling. Hustling. Do you understand me? Hustling. Not, I got some wonderful, great job. No, he's fucking hustling. He's making that shit happen. Do you understand what I'm telling you? If he had went through conventional routes and got whatever job he could have got, he would still have fucking $39,550, maybe $38,000 for student loan debt right now. Do you understand that? Hustling is not a bad thing. You got to claim your hustle, love your hustle, and own up to it. Because when you are comfortable with your hustle, people become comfortable with you hustling. If you like, well, you know, you're there and someone's like, well, what do you do? And you go, well, I hustle. You sound like the most scared little bitch that's on the planet. I mean, you're the president of the Scared Little Bitch Club when you act like that. And someone's like, what do you do? Well, I'm a hustler. Beat on your chest, put some bass in your voice, pull on your nipples or do whatever you have to do to sound excited. Because when you say things like that, I'm a hustler, people become intrigued. They become intrigued because it's like, well, he said that shit so positively. Hustling may not be bad. Because, it was like 6 people at the table. Nobody left. And actually, I ended up having like an hour conversation with one of the people at the table about hustling. And then when that one left, another person was at the table, came, and we talked for another 15 minutes about hustling. So understand that you have to own your hustle. You cannot let the self-doubt monster win. You can't do it. You just cannot do it, because if you continue to let it win, the self-doubt monster, that kryptonite, just like those crystals, it's going to grow. And it's going to be bigger than you. And you will not have self-doubt in your shadow. You'll be in the shadow of self-doubt. In that cold, dark, chilly place of fear, angst, and resentment. Because you're going to resent yourself for being a scared little bitch. And you may take it out on other people, because anytime that I meet someone that is just like, well, Glendon, because I had someone tell me this recently. It's like, you got this Hustler University thing, and, I've kind of listened to some of your YouTube videos, and, if you had gone to school, you'd be better. I have learned not to get upset at stuff like that, because this is what happened with that statement. I was highly marginalized. It's like, well, so what if you have your own company? So what if you're living quite well financially? So what if you help people? So what? Because you didn't go to college, I'm going to marginalize you. And I don't get mad, because I'm going to tell you a story in a minute. I don't get mad at that stuff anymore, because people can't help to be the way that they are until they are awakened. And that's one of the biggest lessons I had to learn. Because, I'm sitting there like, motherfucker, if you do this, you'll yield this result. And I realized that you cannot feed a person with a closed mouth and a closed mind. You're taking that spoon of wisdom, you're taking that knowledge, and you're just like, open up, here it is. And they're like, like a baby, I don't want those peas, The mouth is closed, the mind is closed, the ears are closed, until they awaken and open up. I don't care what you give them. It's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. Years ago, I was working in the hospital, and I had to go to L&D. And sometimes I just vibe with people, and we were talking, and I saw the guy's key fob, and I knew what that key fob was, because back then only Mercedes had that certain kind of key fob. I said, oh, you got a 500 SEL. And it's like, yeah, it's like, I have a really good friend that bought one the other day, and laugh, joke, and then they said something, and there was no malice intended. It's like, who does he play for? pick up the needle, music stopped. The reciprocity that was once evident in the room got sucked dry. I was there as a professional working in the hospital, so I had to stand up straight. Okay, well, got what I needed. Congratulations on your impending child and new addition to the family, and left. But the look on their face, because the look on my face, because before I left, I said, well, no, he's a surgeon upstairs. And the thing is, there was no malice. They weren't being mean. I don't even think that they were racist. It was just the assumption that someone that looked like me, the only way that they could get a Mercedes back then at that time was they had to play for some team. There was no malice. And, the thing is, I was disappointed. I wasn't like hurt or anything. I was just like, damn. And I went back to work and I actually put it in my journal and I was like, this is kind of one of the problems. Because, I'm big on journaling. I don't talk about it on YouTube that much, but I do a lot of writing. And I sat back and I was like, so that's the thing. There was no this goes back to the industrial educational complex. Many people are the way that they are due to indoctrination of ideals and stuff. And many are totally 100% unaware of what they're doing. And then when they run up to someone that's like stands up and says, you know what, that was fucked up, man. Then all of a sudden it becomes very offensive and it's like, freedom of speech and I should be able to say what I want and you should not be so sensitive. When really you are a dumbass. You're an unintended dumbass, but nevertheless you're still a dumbass because you're asleep. You're asleep. And that's one of the things that I had to learn and confront, because when you are a hustler and you're bringing these new ideals and this new energy to people who are asleep, they don't want to be awakened that rudely, because when you show up, you're a rude awakening. When you have someone, and this is one of my students, this is one of the first ones from one of the first webinars. This guy was living with grandma. He's got a house, baby, a store. He's not a millionaire, but he went from grandma's house 4 years ago to having this store, having his own house, and building his own family. And he probably makes between $6,000 and $8,000 gross per month, because where he is, that's doing pretty well. And this is a guy, a high school graduate, and I am proud of that fucking accomplishment. To help someone go from grandma's house to that, I am real fucking happy. And when you have someone like that, and he told me, it's like, my friends, like, you don't party as much, you don't come out. And he's like, dude, I got a family, man. I got a business. I can't be out here fucking with you. You're the rude awakening. Because, see, he was kind of like me. He was like the runt of the litter, the guy that, people are like, yeah, you ain't gonna do shit with your life. So when they see him actually doing shit with his life, it's that rude awakening. It is like not cold water, but water pulled from the fridge just before it turns to ice, and it's got little ice crystals, and it's just flung in their face. That is an incredibly rude awakening. And most people, because they don't understand where the pain's coming from, because they feel that, you've changed. You're no longer the same person. You're not with us. You're not down anymore. No. You realize that this person that you thought was beneath you has actually elevated way above you, and dealing with all of those issues creates a conundrum in your mind that you can't solve because you don't know the root cause, because you think it's him when it's really your own self-doubts, your own fears that you allowed to stack up and block the door of your success. And now that you see him or her, you're angry. And that is a huge fucking problem in the black community. It's huge. It is fucking huge. Someone gets up. I remember a time when someone became successful, it was looked upon as a community achievement. I remember when I joined the military, and I left Alabama for 2 years. I didn't come back for 2 years. And I came back home and I went to visit. And my first thing to visit was all the old people that bought all of those peanuts, those peanut brittle, all that stuff I sold, for school fundraisers. because they've supported me. So I went back, and I remember talking to Miss Lanier. Mr. Lanier had passed a year prior, and we were just sitting on the porch because that's what people in Alabama do. And we're just sitting there swinging. I'm just talking. I was like, "Yeah, I'm here and there." And she said, "I'm so proud of you." And I was like, "Oh, thanks." She's like, "I really mean that." And I kept hearing that and hearing that because I had escaped a fate that a lot of my friends didn't. In Alabama, and I'll just tell you, Alabama was the Pittsburgh of the South. There was a tremendous amount of wealth in Alabama, still is. Vestavia, Mountain Brook, Habia, those areas are just like Buckhead and Sandy Springs, Alpharetta. I mean, serious money. I mean, if you Google the income level of Vestavia, Mountain Brook area, it's the same as Buckhead, exactly. And a lot of that came from that old wealth, because when you have a robust manufacturing or industrial concern, you have ancillary businesses. So there was a lot of people that got rich when, the Inslee steel mills, when they were flossing. I mean, when I was in high school, it was nothing for a guy to graduate high school, not go to college, either go work in a coal mine or work in a steel plant, and within 2.5 years have a house, a wife, a baby, and the wife was staying at home. That was common. But with the steel plant and the coal mine, layoffs were rampant. I mean, I remember, like, damn near every Christmas, some miners got trapped. It's like every Thanksgiving, it's like, hey, I remember that. And I remember, it's like, I don't want that life. I'm not working in the coal mine, and I'm not working in the steel mill. And it wasn't because I was sedity. I was exposed to bigger ideals. So that's something that happened. A lot of people that I knew growing up, a lot of them developed lung cancer. I remember seeing Mr. Giles before he died, because he was at home and he didn't even recognize me. So understand, when you are really pushing forward now, because it's not like it used to be. Because like I said, the community was like, hey, here's a native son. He went out in the world. He's doing fine. He left here. He comes back occasionally, but he left and we're proud of him. Now, you don't want to live with black folks. You too good. You done gone white. I will say, as an interesting message here, the threshold for a black person to lose their black card is remarkably low. If you're a brother my size walking a Yorkie, that can get your card revoked. I'm not bullshitting you. It could. I'm serious. They can't revoke my card anymore. That shit, I lost that shit in 1999, I believe. Yeah, 1999, 2000, some point. But you have to really understand all of these things that are going on with your self-doubts, and how the interplay of your self-doubts that you overcome create problems or inspiration for other people. You will probably, depending upon your circle, because culture is huge in this. It is huge because culturally, not organically or biologically, well, to a degree, black folks and white folks biologically are different. And that difference is due to what one of my uncles would call all that interbreeding, all that, yeah, Cam, all that interbreeding. And I can tell you, boy, it ain't like it was when I was growing up, but yeah, I see it happen, all that interbreeding. That culturally, my uncle was stupid. I'm sorry. That other dude was funny as hell. Just the culturally, that if you take a black person and raise them predominantly in a white culture, and there's a white culture, they're going to act that way. And if you take a white person and put them in a predominantly black culture, they're going to act that way. It's a culture thing. It's not really a race thing. And a lot of people miss that because it goes back to tribalism. If you grow up, Steve Martin, I grew up a poor little black child. If you grew up in an environment and there are people in that environment who are positive role models for you, you're going to like it. Or people you deem to be, you're going to like it. It's like, well, and then for you to change and to abandon that tribe is a betrayal. That's one of the reasons that you have people who can do better who don't, because they don't want to betray the tribe. It's that deep. It's that deep. And you can still be part of the tribe and elevate if your tribe It just depends. It just depends. And I see this because it holds people back. It really does. It really does. So if you want to really increase and elevate your hustling, you have to decrease and slay your self-doubt. And I speak to you from experience. I mean, from the YouTube channel, from writing the first book. That was an exercise in anxiety because it's always, are they going to like me? Are people going to talk? And all the shit that I thought bad was going to happen, that shit happened. But what I didn't see coming was the benefits, the tremendous benefits. When you write a book and it's on Amazon and you meet a stranger and it's like, yeah, I'm an author, and you show them that book, you get like instant admiration. You get instant cred. You get instant social love. It is remarkable what, it's just, oh yeah. And people, wow. They may not even be interested in reading the book, but you have just become this elevated person in their eyes. And in the beginning, I was uncomfortable with the attention because I was like, I'm still Glendon. And, people were looking, it was a little weird. I just recently got used to people recognizing me in public from YouTube. Because it was always just weird. Because I can tell by the stare. Because they're like sitting here like, that's that motherfucker. And sometimes people come over. Sometimes I know the look now. Because they're like, I've seen that motherfucker somewhere before. Just can't. Oh, that's the YouTube motherfucker. And it cracks me up now. It's just like, no, I'm not that guy on YouTube. I've heard about him. I'm much better and more articulate. Yeah, I don't know about him. When you defy your self-doubts, when you push past them, and I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Actually, it may be one of the most challenging things you've ever done. When you push past them, the beauty that lies on the other side can be absolutely stunning. Even with the thorns, the rose can be beautiful. And that's how I looked at it, because a lot of negative stuff happens. The way that I'm going to push some more stuff, and some more mistakes, some more miscues will probably happen. But I won't stop, because I'm not afraid of making a fool of myself anymore. I used to be. Now it's like, oh, well, here's a rabbit hole. Shoot, we're jumping in. And each time I jump in the rabbit hole, whether it comes out the way that I want it to or not, I learn something that I can use for the next rabbit hole. And it gets to the point where I'm getting in the rabbit hole and I'm like, oh, I got all the tools I need to dig in this rabbit hole. And that comes from getting past your hustler kryptonite. Really pushing past your hustler kryptonite, because self-doubt, I believe, is one of the reasons that so many smart, capable people only achieve maybe 5 or 6% of what they want in life. I'm telling you, it's that deep. So slay your hustler kryptonite. At some point in the Hustler Mindset Project, I'm going to do a training course on this, because there's some stuff in there that speaks to it now, but I'm going to really clean it up and get to even more of it, because as I did with the Hustle University orientation the other night, I'm laying down the different expectations. I'm like saying, look, this is what I'm doing. This is where I'm going, because this path that I'm on, I want you to come with me. I want you to see this. I want you to be able to stay at home and take care of your kids. You to be able to make a lot of money and not deal with fucking traffic. If I can help a lot, and let me just define a lot. I love the movie 300. And if I can help 300 people, actually, let's say maybe 220 more, because I think it's about between 80 and 90. Let's just say 220. If I can help 220 more people get to where I'm at in life, that's a freaking legacy. And that's something else that I explored with And My Brother's Keeper. I can't help everyone. That does not disappoint me or make me feel sad. I just fucking can't help everyone. But I can help a few. And when I took that position, the day got brighter, and I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'll help who I can. And I developed a certain procedure and a way of helping people, because some of you don't know it. There's some people got scholarships, and they've been sworn to secrecy. I'm not going to tell you. I'll never tell you, and they're not going to tell you. So definitely, if you're hustling and you're visible, and I can see you visible, you know, you might get an email from me. But if you were just like, fuck, life is so hard. Life is so hard. I wish someone would help. I'm ignoring your bitchy ass. I'm getting away from you. I am pulling out the can of bitch go away, and I'm spraying hard. Psst, because you're not even fucking helping yourself with that attitude. It's a total turn off, man. Or dude, do that. Total turn off. So it's just some things for you to consider, some things for you to think about. And remember, every hustler has this kryptonite. For some people, it's big. Other people, it's just some specks on their shoulders. Get your shit down to specks. It's easier to brush off. All right, this is Glenn and Cameron, and I will see you on the good side.